Hello, today is Thursday, August 5th, 2021. I'm Joe Schmidt from TC2, and this is Staying Connected. If you follow the news in the ICT space, you'll have seen two significant announcements by Lumen Technologies involving the planned sales of certain business segments. The first, which was announced last week, is the sale of Lumen's Latin American business to the investment firm Stonepeak for $2.7 billion. The second was announced on Tuesday of this week, and that is the sale of local incumbent carrier operations in 20 states to Apollo Funds, and that one is for $7.5 billion. This is a big deal, and when a major ICT player like Lumen makes a Wall Street Journal-worthy announcement that impacts enterprises, well, we like to share our views. And to help me do that, on today's podcast, I'm joined by Jack Deal, one of TC2's managing directors, and Laura McDonald, a partner with LB3. Hey, Jack, we've talked about Lumen's image transformation in earlier podcasts. And now these transactions, they appear to be the first hint of, I guess, perhaps more substantial change.
Indeed, we did talk about those, Joe, and thanks again for having me back for today's podcast. Yes, it does appear Lumen is taking those next concrete steps to execute their transformation strategy in support of this new image that we talked about in the past. We know that Lumen wants to be the leading network edge computing and solutions delivery provider, and that encompasses cloud and network connectivity, collaboration, and security. That's a quantum leap from their traditional global carrier and ILEC services heritage, and these actions are the first steps that begin to reinforce it.
So what do you think the drivers are for these actions?
I think they are divesting these legacy segments and assets that are likely high cost, expensive to maintain, don't have large market penetration, or don't align with where networking trends are heading, or with where their solution provider image that they call 4IR aligns. In that respect, the announcement shouldn't be a surprise to large enterprises. Lumen's going to receive more than $10 billion in sales proceeds, which they can use for a variety of things, to reduce debt, to fund key investments that could augment the capabilities and deliveries that they have highlighted, or buy back shares and enhance their share value. Like all ICT providers, Lumen wants to migrate to the newest, more efficient next-generation network technologies versus continuing use of legacy services, and some of these services just may be viewed as legacy. Regarding the Latin American network transaction, it's more of a head scratcher for us given Lumen's desire to be perceived as a capable global provider, but the region presents service delivery challenges, and perhaps Lumen is acknowledging this. The purchaser, Stonepeak, has indicated they plan to make a significant investment in the business, which is something Lumen may have been reluctant to take on. Lumen hasn't disclosed any segment performance with the announcements, but indications are that both of these areas are steady performers for them.
All right. Thanks for that, Jack. Okay, Laura, the buyer of the legacy CenturyLink ILEC assets is Apollo. Who is Apollo?
Great question. It's interesting. In most cases where you hear of the divestiture and sale of telecom assets, it's to another established telecom provider. But in this case, it's to a respected private equity firm. Apollo is a high-growth global alternative asset manager, and it touts itself as investing and working with top-notch management teams to build businesses and new companies via corporate carve-outs and investments in growth. And that's what they've indicated they want to do with these new assets. And you might have seen or remember Apollo in the telecom news earlier this year because it purchased a majority of Verizon's media division, which included AOL and Yahoo. And they also just purchased in July a Utah-based fiber carrier, First Digital Telecom. And it's funny how things are kind of cyclical because First Digital Telecom bought some of Lumen's assets in Tucson as part of Lumen's purchase, or at that point, CenturyLink's purchase of Level 3. News reports are suggesting that Apollo is going to bring on 3 veterans from Verizon to lead the company.
So what is the timing on the proposed divestiture?
Well, Lumen indicates that everything should be complete by the second half of 2022. And I took a look at the purchase agreement, and it states that if the divestiture is not complete within 15 months after the date of purchase, then the deal could be terminated. Of course, there's a bunch of caveats and exceptions built into that.
15 months? That seems like a long time.
Actually, it's not. There's a lot that has to happen, both on an operational and a transactional basis, but also on a regulatory basis. The divestiture is subject to the expiration or termination of the applicable waiting period under Hart-Scott-Rodino. And there's also a sizable regulatory lift when you're transferring ILEC services or assets or telecom of any type. And it will require authorizations from the FCC and many of the state public service commissions.
So, Laura, how will this impact enterprise customers who have service in these regions? Now, me personally, I'm hoping that Lumen sharpens its focus on enterprises and improves its contracting process, which historically has been arduous and time-consuming.
I hear you on that, Joe. And yes, I hope so too. To answer your question, I'm going to give you the standard lawyer answer. It depends. First, an enterprise needs to determine what Lumen entity it's purchasing services from. This divestiture is only of ILEC assets, not CLEC assets. CLECs are competitive local exchange carriers, i.e. level 3. So if you're getting service from Lumen, the CLEC, it shouldn't impact you at all, at least for now. If an enterprise is getting services from ILEC, which is the incumbent local exchange carrier, Lumen states that everything's going to remain steady state until the actual transfer occurs. And I again looked at the purchase agreement, and it actually requires Lumen to use commercially reasonable efforts to preserve the nature and scope of the business relationships with enterprise customers. So in short, there should be no draconian impact for the next 15 months. And after that, I'm presuming that NewCo will want to keep the relationships.
All right. So what should enterprise customers do?
Well, as always, the best place to start is to know the facts, to gather the facts. So what are you purchasing from Lumen and where and from whom? Is it in one of the 20 states? If it's not in one of the 20 states, at least for the time being, you don't have to sweat it. If it is from the ILEC, then you need to start thinking about what is your next steps and how you use this to your strategic advantage. So you need to pull out your contracts. And this, because they're ILEC services in 20 states, you might not have a master. You may have 20 different contracts. So you need to pull those out for each state. You should check and see if the contract has a change of control or assignment clause. Most will. If they don't, there may be a tariff or service guide that governs. I hate to tell you this, though, for ILEC deals, most of the time, they're not the types of protections that you might get in a more robust contract requiring the assignee to have the requisite financial and technical backgrounds. So you might have it, but I wouldn't bet on that. You also need to reach out to your account rep and ask them what's going on. Right now, they don't really know that much. But you should stay in good contact, and they're going to want to stay in contact with you because they're worried about their jobs. If you use an aggregator, and this is where people might not be thinking, if you're using an aggregator to purchase some of these services in these states, you should reach out and make sure that the underlying provider isn't CenturyLink, because CenturyLink is throwing off their wholesale services as well. And then finally, be on the lookout for these regulatory developments. And you should get a letter from the new entity. Under applicable law, the telecommunications carriers that acquire through sale or transfer, either whole or part of another carrier's subscriber base, have certain obligations. And one is to notify those subscribers and to provide some basic information.
All right. So, Jack, do you have anything to add to this?
Well, Joe, large enterprises should note what Lumen isn't selling. They're retaining the legacy Quest ILEC footprint assets in 16 Western states, the old Joe Nacho Ride the Light territory, as well as their national fiber routes and CLEC networks. So no changes if you have locations in those geographies. One of Lumen's strengths has been their high level of on-net building penetration with fiber and Ethernet. It's a significant competitive advantage in terms of performance and deal economics. From a sourcing and management perspective, the Lumen transactions may open the window in your company for driving change. The timing might be right for abandoning legacy local voice infrastructure in the 20-state legacy CenturyLink territory in favor of, say, a UCaaS solution. For Latin America networks, the opportunity for selecting a best-of-breed regional WAN provider could be knocking on your door.
So how does this impact Lumen and its path forward?
Well, as we said at the beginning of this podcast, Lumen's transforming their image and now the makeup of itself. How they want to be viewed is captured in the marketing materials you can access on their website. And I quote, a multinational technology company that enables companies to capitalize on emerging applications and power the fourth industrial revolution, or 4IR, end of quote. That's flashy words for a new flashy image. And Lumen's competitors have attempted even riskier moves in attempts to become content and media providers or anything except network and related IT services specialists. We don't view what Lumen is attempting as a similar type of moonshot, which is a good thing for enterprises. They appear to remain focused on their core networking competencies and look to sharpen their focus and hone their capabilities for meeting the needs of the large, sophisticated enterprise. The question really becomes what's next, because there certainly will be additional moves.
All right. Thanks, Jack. And thank you as well, Laura. Now, let's hope that this new Lumen is a win for enterprise buyers. If you do want to talk about the new Lumen, or if you have other ICT questions, please contact Laura, Jack, me, or any of our LB3 and TC2 colleagues by giving us a call or dropping us an email. You can also stay up to date by subscribing to Staying Connected, by checking out our websites, and by following us on LinkedIn.